In the shadows of the digital age, a silent war rages, its battleground, the very foundation of American democracy. In the next 10 minutes, I'll reveal how a foreign power is deliberately tearing apart the fabric of our nation, and most Americans have no idea it's happening. Vladimir Putin approaches geopolitics like a grandmaster at chess. His strategy to undermine American democracy is as intricate as it is insidious. The Supreme Court's recent ruling in Trump v. Anderson has raised significant concerns about interpreting and enforcing Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. This decision has effectively compromised the application of this constitutional provision in several key ways, limiting state authority. The court unanimously ruled that states lack the power to enforce Section 3 of the 14th Amendment against candidates for federal office, particularly the presidency. This decision overturns the Colorado Supreme Court's ruling that had disqualified former President Trump from the ballot based on his alleged engagement in insurrection, requiring congressional action. The court's opinion suggests that only Congress has the authority to determine who is disqualified under Section 3 and through what procedures. This interpretation effectively makes Section 3 non-self-executing, requiring federal legislation for its enforcement. Potential consequences. This undermines constitutional intent. The court's ruling appears to contradict the original intent of Section 3, which was designed to prevent individuals who had engaged in insurrection from holding office. By requiring congressional action, the court has weakened this constitutional safeguard. This also insulates the Supreme Court justices and their spouses from prosecution for giving aid or comfort to an insurrectionist, creating a patchwork concern. The justices expressed concern that allowing states to enforce Section 3 could lead to a chaotic state-by-state patchwork of conflicting determinations. However, this reasoning fails to address how states routinely determine candidate eligibility for other constitutional requirements. Dissenting views. While the ruling was unanimous, several justices expressed reservations. Justice Barrett suggested the court should have limited its holding to presidential candidates without broadly ruling on federal legislation as the exclusive enforcement mechanism. Justice Sotomayor, Kagan and Jackson questioned the logic of requiring congressional legislation, noting that it's hard to understand why the Constitution would require a congressional supermajority to remove a disqualification if a simple majority could nullify Section 3's operation. Implications for future cases. The court's decision leaves open questions about how Section 3 might be enforced in the future and potentially limits its effectiveness as a constitutional provision. By centralizing the power to enforce Section 3 solely with Congress, the court may have made it more difficult to disqualify individuals who have engaged in insurrections from holding office. This ruling presents a significant reinterpretation of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, potentially compromising its intended function as a safeguard against those who would threaten the constitutional order after swearing to uphold it. With the Supreme Court protecting President-elect Trump's disqualification by eviscerating our Constitution, this will allow Putin to continue his attack on our remaining institutional safeguards. Second, weaponize social media. These platforms become echo chambers, amplifying divisive messages. Third, target vulnerable demographics. Those feeling left behind become susceptible to manipulation. Finally, create artificial social tensions. By manufacturing conflicts, Putin keeps America off balance. To execute his strategy, Putin needed allies, whether they knew it or not. Enter the MAGA useful idiots. By exploiting deep-seated racial divides, Putin's propaganda stoked fears of cultural erasure. In communities devastated by economic decline, propaganda painted a picture of betrayal. This patriotism was weaponized into blind loyalty to a single figure. By manufacturing cultural wars, Putin's influence deepened divisions within American society. Putin's playbook isn't confined to America. It's a global strategy of systematic destabilization. Brexit was a major test of modern information warfare, exploiting immigration fears. The American electoral system became a prime target for spreading doubt about election integrity. Social media became the ultimate weapon for spreading disinformation. Behind every strategic attack are key players who became instruments in Putin's grand design. A former KGB operative, Putin sees geopolitics as psychological warfare. Trump amplified Russian strategic objectives with his rhetoric, undermining institutions. Manafort's connections made him a critical bridge between Putin's regime and the Trump campaign. Flynn's relationship with Russian intelligence provided unprecedented access to US politics. Russian intelligence agencies worked tirelessly with disinformation and cyber attacks. Social media platforms became unwitting arsenals in this information war. Democracy is fragile and can be dismantled from within. Systematic attacks on voting access target our fundamental democratic right. Partisan judges compromise the system of checks and balances. When truth becomes negotiable, democracy suffocates. The Constitution faces unprecedented challenges from internal fractures. Democracy requires active participation from every citizen. Don't just consume news, critically analyze it, cross-reference sources. Learn to distinguish between credible journalism and manipulative propaganda. Vote in every election, your voice matters. Quality journalism is democracy's immune system. Support independent media outlets. Learn to identify psychological manipulation and emotional triggers designed to provoke. This isn't just a political challenge, this is a fight for the soul of our nation. The future of democracy isn't written in Moscow, it's written here, by us.